the living water. You can have everything and still be dying of thirst.
The dry season. Ethan Cole had everything. At least, that's what people said. Corner office on the 38th floor. A luxury apartment overlooking downtown Chicago. A black German sedan parked in a private garage. A watch that cost more than his mother's first house. But every morning, when the city lights faded into gray dawn and silence filled his glass-walled bedroom, Ethan felt something no one could see. Thirst. Not the kind you cure with coffee. The kind that gnaws at your soul. The illusion of winning. Congratulations, Ethan. Youngest executive in the firm's history. The applause still echoed in his mind from the night before. Champagne. Laughter. Flashes from phone cameras. He had raised his glass and said what successful men are supposed to say. To hard work. To sacrifice. To the grind. They cheered. But when he returned home, he stood alone in his kitchen staring at the skyline. What shall it profit a man, he muttered to himself, though he couldn't remember where he'd heard it. If he gains the whole world. He didn't finish the sentence, because he knew the rest, and he didn't want to hear it. A phone call at 5:17 a.m. His phone vibrated on the nightstand. Mom. He almost let it go to voicemail. It was early. He had meetings, but something made him answer. Hey, Mom. Her voice was softer than usual. Ethan, your dad collapsed this morning. The room tilted. He's at St. Mark's Hospital. The hospital. Hospitals smell like fear and antiseptic. Ethan hadn't been inside one since he left his small hometown 12 years ago. His father lay pale and still, tubes running like fragile lifelines across his body. The man who taught him to ride a bike. The man who worked double shifts. The man who once said, "Son, success without character is failure in disguise." Ethan swallowed. A nurse approached. We're running tests. It could be his heart. His heart. Funny, Ethan thought. Mine stopped beating years ago. The pastor. In the hallway, an older man sat with a Bible resting on his knee. Pastor Daniel. Ethan recognized him instantly. Same calm eyes. Same gentle strength. I heard, the pastor said quietly. How are you holding up? I'm fine. You don't look fine. Ethan forced a smirk. I'm just tired. Pastor Daniel nodded slowly. We all get tired. But some tiredness isn't about sleep. Silence. Then the pastor said, Do you remember what your father used to tell you? Ethan didn't answer. Seek first the kingdom of God. Ethan stiffened. Pastor, I don't really. You don't really believe anymore? The words landed softly, but they hit hard. The cracks in the armor. That night, Ethan stayed at the hospital. Machines beeped in slow rhythm. His father stirred slightly and whispered something faint. Ethan leaned closer. Forgive. What? Forgive. Forgive who? Him. The room felt heavy. Ethan hadn't spoken to his father in nearly a year. Their last conversation ended in shouting. You care more about money than people. You don't understand ambition. You're chasing the wrong kingdom, son. Ethan clenched his jaw. I built this life myself, he whispered into the dark room. No one gave me anything. But deep down, he knew that wasn't true. The memory of water. When Ethan was 12, he and his father had gone camping. They'd hiked for hours under the summer sun until Ethan complained, I'm thirsty. They ran out of bottled water. His father found a small spring flowing between rocks. Careful, he said, kneeling. This is living water. Comes straight from the source. Ethan cupped his hands and drank. It was the coldest, purest water he had ever tasted. His father smiled. You can drink soda all day, but it won't satisfy like this. Ethan didn't understand at the time. Now he did. He had been drinking from the wrong sources for years. The breaking point. 3 days later, the doctor called them into a quiet room. Your father's condition is serious. We'll do everything we can. Serious. Ethan walked outside into the freezing Chicago wind. His phone buzzed again. An email from work. Need confirmation on Singapore deal ASAP. He stared at it, then at the hospital behind him. Two kingdoms. One demanded performance. The other demanded presence. He closed his laptop. For the first time in years, he chose differently. The question. That night, alone in the hospital chapel, Ethan sat in the back row. He hadn't prayed in over a decade. He didn't know how. He stared at the cross hanging above the altar. If you're real, he whispered. Silence. I don't even know what I believe anymore. More silence. Then a memory surfaced. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened. He exhaled. Okay, he said quietly. I'm asking. No lightning. No voice from heaven. But something shifted. For the first time in years, Ethan wasn't pretending to be strong. He was honest. And honesty cracked open something inside him. The door opens. Ethan didn't know it yet. But this moment, this small, broken prayer, was the beginning of being born again. Not in fireworks. Not in instant perfection. But in surrender. And surrender is where living water begins. The desert. The desert doesn't always look like sand. Sometimes it looks like success. Other times it looks like waiting rooms, unanswered prayers, and silence where you expected miracles. For Ethan Cole, it looked like a hospital chair that barely reclined and a father who still hadn't opened his eyes. 3 days passed after Ethan's whispered prayer in the chapel. Nothing changed. No dramatic healing. No divine sign. No sudden peace. Just machines. Beeping. Just paperwork. Waiting. Just uncertainty. Ethan sat beside his father's bed, staring at the faint rise and fall of his chest. "You said if I ask," Ethan muttered quietly. "So I'm asking." Still silence. His old instinct kicked in. Fix it. Control it. Make something happen. But this wasn't a business deal. There was no strategy deck for this. Only surrender. And surrender felt like weakness. On the fourth morning, Ethan stepped outside to take a call. It was Marcus Hale, his mentor, his boss, the man who taught him how to win. "You've been gone all week," Marcus said sharply. "The Singapore acquisition is about to close. My dad's in critical condition." "I'm sorry to hear that," Marcus replied, though it didn't sound like he meant it. "But this deal changes your future. You want partner status? This is it. Partner." That word had fueled Ethan for years. "You can fly out tonight," Marcus continued. "Sign the contract. Be back in 2 days. Your father will still be in a hospital bed." The words cut. Your father will still be in a hospital bed. A kingdom of ambition. A kingdom of love. Ethan stared at the skyline in the distance. "I can't," he said finally. Silence. "You're making an emotional decision," Marcus warned. "Maybe," Ethan replied. "Or maybe I'm finally making the right one." He ended the call. His hands trembled. For the first time in his adult life, he chose people over profit. And it hurt. That evening, Ethan found his mother in the hospital cafeteria, staring into untouched coffee. "You don't have to stay every minute," she said gently. "I want to." She studied him carefully. "You've changed this week." He didn't answer. After a moment, she asked quietly, "Do you still blame him?" The question hit like a hammer. Blame. When Ethan was 16, his father had turned down a major promotion that required relocating across the country. It would have tripled his salary. Ethan had overheard the argument. "We could finally live comfortably," his mother had said. "I won't sacrifice church and community for money," his father replied. Ethan never forgot it. In his teenage mind, that decision meant one thing. Dad chose God over us. And Ethan vowed he would never make the same mistake. "I don't blame him," Ethan said now. But the tightness in his chest said otherwise. Later that night, Pastor Daniel returned. They sat together in the dim hallway. "Your father talks about you often," the pastor said. Ethan gave a small laugh. "Yeah? Probably about how I sold my soul to Wall Street." "No," Pastor Daniel replied calmly. "He says he prays you'll find peace." "Peace? I have peace," Ethan snapped. The pastor didn't argue. He simply opened his Bible. "What shall it profit a man," he read gently, "if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?" The words felt personal, uncomfortable, like someone had been watching his life. "I didn't lose my soul," Ethan muttered. "Have you checked?" The hallway went quiet. Then the pastor added softly, "Sometimes we build empires to avoid building character." Ethan stood abruptly. "I need air." But the words followed him down the corridor. On the 7th day, his father finally opened his eyes. Weak, confused, but awake. "Dad," Ethan breathed, stepping forward. His father's gaze found him slowly. Tears filled the old man's eyes. "You came," he whispered. "Of course I came." His father's voice was fragile. "I'm proud of you." Ethan's throat tightened. "For what?" he asked. "For being strong." The irony nearly crushed him. Strong? He felt shattered. His father squeezed his hand faintly. "Strength isn't climbing higher," he whispered. "It's kneeling lower." Ethan blinked. "Dad, you need to rest." But his father held on. "Son, forgiveness frees you." The word again. Forgiveness. But forgive who? Him? God? Himself? That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He walked the hospital corridors until he reached the chapel again. He sat down hard in the front row this time. "No more riddles," he said under his breath. "What do you want from me?" His voice cracked. "I built everything myself. I worked for it. I earned it. So why do I still feel empty?" He clenched his fists. "If you're the way, then why does it feel like I'm lost?" Silence pressed in. Then something unexpected happened. He remembered his own words during the last fight with his father. "I don't need God to succeed." The sentence echoed back at him, not from the ceiling, from his own heart. Pride, that was the desert. Self-sufficiency, achievement without surrender, ambition without humility. Everyone who exalts himself will be humbled. The scripture surfaced like water breaking through sand. Ethan bowed his head. "Okay," he whispered. "I don't have it together." The confession felt like breaking glass. "I chased money because I was angry. I wanted to prove something. I wanted to prove you were wrong." His shoulders shook. "I forgive you," he said slowly, though his father wasn't in the room. Then he swallowed. "And I'm sorry." The words weren't just for his dad. They were for God, for himself, for years of pride. Tears fell freely now. And strangely, he didn't feel weak. He felt lighter. The next morning, Ethan walked into his father's room with red eyes but steady steps. "Dad," his father looked at him quietly. "I was angry at you," Ethan admitted, "for choosing faith over money. I thought you chose God instead of us." His father's face softened. "I chose God so I wouldn't lose us." Ethan inhaled sharply. "I thought success would fill the gap." "And did it?" Ethan shook his head. "No." His father squeezed his hand again. "Son, the kingdom you build on earth won't last. But the one built in your heart, that's eternal." For the first time, Ethan didn't argue. He just listened. 2 days later, Marcus called again. "You've been replaced on the deal," he said coldly. "We're restructuring leadership." Ethan understood what that meant. Demotion, loss of influence, loss of income, loss of status. "You chose poorly," Marcus added. Ethan looked at his father sleeping peacefully. For the first time in years, he disagreed. "I chose differently," Ethan replied calmly. He ended the call. It hurt, but it didn't hollow him out the way he expected, because something else was filling that space. Peace. Not the kind that removes trouble, the kind that remains inside it. Weeks passed. His father slowly regained strength. Ethan postponed his return to work. He started visiting the chapel daily, not out of panic now, but out of hunger. He began reading words he had once ignored. "Seek first the kingdom. Love one another. Take up your cross." They no longer sounded restrictive. They sounded freeing. One afternoon, while helping his father walk slowly down the hospital hallway, Ethan noticed something. He wasn't thinking about deals, or promotions, or who was ahead of him. He was present, and presence felt like water in a dry land. The desert hadn't destroyed him. It had stripped him. Pride, anger, ambition without purpose. But a deeper test was coming. Because surrender is easy in crisis. The real question is, who will you be when you have to choose sacrifice over security? Ethan faces a career ultimatum. A betrayal shakes him. A decision forces him to lose everything, or keep his soul. And the true meaning of "take up your cross" becomes real. Say the word, and we step into the storm. The crossroads. Spring came quietly to Chicago. Snow melted. Trees budded. The city exhaled. Inside Ethan Cole, however, something far more violent was shifting. The desert had stripped him. Now the crossroads would define him. A different man walks back in. The first day Ethan returned to Hale and Roth Capital, the glass doors reflected a man he barely recognized. Same tailored suit, same polished shoes, same confident stride, but something in his eyes had changed. The lobby buzzed with the familiar electricity of ambition. Phones ringing, assistants moving fast, analysts glued to screens. 12 weeks ago, this energy fueled him. Now it felt hollow. "Ethan," a junior associate whispered as he passed. "Glad you're back." He nodded, but he already sensed it. He wasn't the same, and neither was his place here. 2. The offer. Marcus Hale called him into the office within an hour. The corner office still overlooked the city like a throne room. Marcus didn't smile. "You lost leverage," he said bluntly. "You walked away at the worst possible moment. My father nearly died. This is business." Ethan held his gaze. "That's exactly the problem." Marcus leaned back. "I'll give you one chance to recover. We're structuring a redevelopment acquisition on the south side. Massive upside, high return, Ethan skimmed the file Marcus slid across the desk. His stomach tightened. The redevelopment plan required clearing out a low-income housing complex. Hundreds of families displaced. Relocation packages are minimal, Marcus added casually. They'll survive. Ethan looked up slowly. They'll lose their homes. They'll get over it. Silence. Then Marcus delivered the ultimatum. Lead this deal, and your tractor partner is restored. There it was. Status. Security. The life he built. Or something else. 3. The night of wrestling. That night, Ethan sat alone in his apartment. City lights flickered outside his floor-to-ceiling windows. He opened his laptop and reviewed the projections. Profits would triple within 2 years. He imagined his old life restored. The praise, the recognition, the control. Then another image surfaced. Children packing boxes. Mothers crying. A community erased. He closed the laptop. The words rose in his mind. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? He stood and paced. This is how the world works, he muttered. If I don't do it, someone else will. But a quieter voice answered. That doesn't absolve you. He walked to the kitchen sink and turned on the faucet. Water poured steadily. He stared at it. Everyone who exalts himself will be humbled. Strength isn't climbing higher. It's kneeling lower. He dropped to his knees in the living room. Why does doing the right thing cost so much? He whispered. Silence. But not empty silence. Heavy silence. Sacred silence. 4. The unexpected visit. The next afternoon, Ethan visited his father, now recovering at home. They sat on the porch together. I've got a decision to make, Ethan admitted. His father listened quietly. Ethan explained the deal. The money. The promotion. The displacement. When he finished, his father didn't lecture. He simply asked, Who are you becoming? The question cut deeper than any argument. I don't know, Ethan said honestly. His father nodded toward the neighborhood park where children were playing. When you were little, you asked me why I didn't take that promotion years ago. Ethan felt the memory stir. I chose to stay, his father said softly, because I didn't want to become someone who measured life by numbers. He turned to Ethan. You can build a kingdom on profit, or you can build one on love, but you can't serve both. The words felt like a line drawn in the sand. 5. The betrayal. The next morning, Ethan entered the boardroom ready to present his decision. But before he could speak, Marcus interrupted. We've already assigned the deal to Daniel Reeves. Daniel, Ethan's longtime colleague. Former friend. Daniel avoided eye contact. Marcus continued smoothly. However, Ethan, we do have another opportunity for you. A smaller file slid across the table. Ethan opened it. His name was removed from major leadership roles. His compensation reduced. His influence diminished. You've become unpredictable, Marcus said. We need loyalty. Ethan looked at Daniel. You knew? Daniel swallowed. It's business. The words echoed painfully. Ethan closed the folder. You're right, he said calmly. It is. But he felt no anger. Only clarity. 6. The real cross. He walked out of the building without returning to his office. No dramatic speech. No shouting. Just surrender. By evening, he sent a formal resignation email. Effective immediately. The next morning, headlines announced the redevelopment deal moving forward. Investors celebrated. Stocks surged. Ethan sat at a small cafe near his father's house, reading the news on his phone. He had walked away from millions. From status. From the identity he'd built for over a decade. Fear crept in. What have you done? But beneath the fear, peace. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart. I have overcome the world. He inhaled slowly. He had lost his career, but he hadn't lost himself. 7. The cost becomes clear. Weeks passed. Savings dwindled faster than expected. Former colleagues stopped calling. LinkedIn messages went unanswered. He applied to firms that once competed for him. Rejections came quickly. You're overqualified. You're not the right cultural fit. Translation. You walked away. We don't trust you. One evening, anxiety finally cracked his calm. What now? He whispered aloud in his apartment. He felt foolish. Exposed. Small. He opened his Bible again. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. Save it how? He asked. He didn't understand the future, but he understood something new. His worth was no longer tied to position, and that terrified him, because he didn't know who he was without it. 8. The living water returns. A week later, Pastor Daniel called. There's a community development nonprofit looking for financial leadership, he said. They help families avoid displacement. Ethan almost laughed at the irony. What's the salary? He asked cautiously. The pastor paused. Less than half of what you made before. Silence. Then something unexpected stirred in Ethan's chest. Not ambition, not fear. Purpose. He visited their office. Modest, worn, full of energy. Maps covered the walls. Volunteers bustled around folding tables. Families sat in chairs discussing housing assistance. It wasn't glamorous, but it was alive. The director, a determined woman named Angela, looked him in the eye. We don't maximize profit, she said. We maximize stability for families. Ethan felt something inside him click into place. 9. The climax. That night he stood alone on the same balcony where he once measured his life by skyline lights. His luxury lease would end soon. He'd likely move somewhere smaller. He looked at the city, then upward. I don't know what this looks like long term, he said quietly. But I trust you. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't emotional. It was steady. He accepted the nonprofit position the next morning. In doing so, he gave up the world's definition of winning and gained something deeper. Identity. Not as a rising executive, but as a servant. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. For the first time in his adult life, Ethan understood those words. Not intellectually, personally. End of part 3. The world pushes back. But choosing service doesn't eliminate struggle. It intensifies it. Because when you shift kingdoms, the old one doesn't release you quietly. In part 4, The Living Water. The redevelopment project threatens families Ethan now serves. A public confrontation with Marcus explodes. Ethan faces humiliation and doubt. And the ultimate test proves whether his faith is real or temporary. The storm isn't over. The living water. Summer came hot and relentless. Heat shimmered over sidewalks. Tension simmered in neighborhoods. And the city buzzed with news of the largest redevelopment project in its history. The same project Ethan had walked away from. Now he was on the other side of it. Not as an executive, but as an advocate. And the cost of that shift was about to become painfully real. 1. When the kingdoms collide. Angela burst into Ethan's small office one morning, holding a stack of notices. They've accelerated the timeline, she said. Eviction filings, property acquisitions, legal deadlines moved forward. Marcus had wasted no time. Families Ethan now knew by name were at risk. Maria Alvarez, raising 3 kids alone. Mr. Thompson, a retired mechanic living on fixed income. A young couple expecting their first baby. This wasn't abstract anymore. These weren't assets. These were people. Ethan felt anger flare for the first time since leaving the firm. They're pushing faster because they know we're organizing, Angela said. Ethan nodded slowly. Then we push back smarter. 2. The confrontation. A public city hearing was scheduled 2 weeks later. Developers, investors, community leaders, and residents. Marcus Hale would be there. Ethan hadn't seen him since resigning. The night before the hearing, fear returned. Not fear of losing money. Fear of humiliation. Fear of failure. What if this doesn't work? He whispered in prayer. He opened his Bible again. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. He exhaled slowly. This isn't about winning, he said. It's about standing. 3. The hearing. City Hall overflowed with tension. Reporters lined the back walls. Families filled the seats. Developers sat in tailored suits at the front. Marcus spotted Ethan immediately. Their eyes locked. Marcus gave a faint, almost amused smile. When it was Ethan's turn to speak, he stood slowly. He felt his heartbeat in his throat. He remembered the boardrooms, the applause, the polished presentations. This wasn't that. This was raw. He stepped to the microphone. My name is Ethan Cole, he began. I used to work for the firm leading this redevelopment. Murmurs spread across the room. Marcus's smile disappeared. I know how the projections work. I know the return margins. I know how quickly families become line items. He paused. But I also know something else now. He looked back at the families behind him. A city isn't built by maximizing profit. It's built by protecting people. The room grew quiet. If you gain the whole skyline, he continued steadily, but destroy the souls living beneath it, what have you built? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Ethan's voice didn't rise. It deepened. We can develop responsibly. We can invest without displacement. But we have to value mercy over margin. He stepped back, not triumphant, Not dramatic, just truthful. For the fallout. The hearing didn't end with applause. It ended with tension. News outlets picked up the story. Former executive opposes major redevelopment deal. Comment sections were brutal. Sellout. Naive. Religious extremist. Bitter ex-employee. Old colleagues texted mockingly. You've lost it. One anonymous email read. You'll regret crossing Marcus. For a moment, doubt flooded back in. Had he gone too far? Had faith made him foolish? That night, exhaustion overwhelmed him. He sat alone in his modest apartment, smaller now, quieter. He buried his face in his hands. Why does obedience feel like loss? He whispered. Silence. Then a memory surfaced. In this world you will have trouble. But take heart. I have overcome the world. He sat upright slowly. The promise was never comfort. It was victory through endurance. 5. The breaking point. A week later, the city announced a temporary injunction. Redevelopment paused. Further review required. It wasn't a full victory, but it was space, time, hope. Families cried with relief at the nonprofit office. Angela hugged Ethan tightly. You helped make this happen. He shook his head. No, truth did. But later that night, Marcus requested a private meeting. 6. The final conversation. They met in a quiet downtown restaurant. Marcus looked older, tired. You could have stayed, Marcus said flatly. You could have changed things from inside. Ethan studied him carefully. Would you have let me? Marcus didn't answer. You threw away everything, Marcus continued. For what? Ethan didn't hesitate. For who? Silence stretched between them. Marcus leaned forward. Money is power, Ethan. Without it, you're irrelevant. Ethan smiled softly. I thought that too. He paused. But I'd rather be irrelevant with peace than powerful with emptiness. Marcus looked away. For a brief moment, something cracked in his expression. Regret? Doubt? Weariness? Ethan stood. I don't hate you, he said quietly. Marcus looked up sharply. I'm praying for you. And he meant it. Love your enemies. Not as poetry, as practice. 7. Living water. Months passed. The redevelopment project was restructured to include fair relocation packages and affordable housing protections. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. Ethan's nonprofit role expanded. He trained volunteers, built financial models that protected communities, helped families stay in their homes. One afternoon, he walked through the neighborhood park near the housing complex. Children laughed. Parents talked. Life continued. Maria waved from a bench. You helped us stay, she said, eyes shining. Ethan shook his head gently. I just stood where I was supposed to. Later, he sat alone on a park bench as sunlight filtered through trees. He closed his eyes. He remembered the camping trip with his father, the spring between the rocks, the cold, pure water. He understood now. Living water wasn't success. It wasn't applause. It wasn't even victory. It was surrender that never runs dry. 8. The resolution. That evening, Ethan visited his father, now fully recovered. They sat on the porch again. You look lighter, his father observed. I feel free, Ethan admitted. His father smiled. Born again isn't about perfection, he said gently. It's about direction. Ethan nodded. He no longer chased the skyline. He no longer feared losing status. He no longer measured life by income. He sought first the kingdom. And somehow, everything he actually needed had been added. Peace, purpose, clarity, not absence of trouble, but presence of God inside it. Final scene. Months later, during a community gathering, Ethan was asked to speak briefly. He stood before neighbors, families, volunteers. He wasn't wearing a power suit, just rolled up sleeves and tired eyes that had seen both ambition and surrender. I used to think strength meant climbing higher than everyone else, he said. But I've learned something different. He looked around slowly. Strength is kneeling lower. He paused. If you try to hang on to your life, you'll lose it. But if you give it away for something eternal, you'll find it. The sun dipped behind the skyline. Not conquered, not worshipped, just part of the landscape. And for the first time in his life, Ethan wasn't thirsty. The end. Core message fulfilled. Faith over fear. Service over status. Humility over pride. Love over power. Kingdom over career. And the promise proven true. Whoever drinks of the water he gives will never thirst again.